what we can't fix is a life lost.
Heed the warnings. If you're in evacuation zone A, please get out now.
Yeah, the clock is now ticking for those in the storm's path. On the eve of Hurricane Ian, Floridians all along the Gulf Coast prepare, watch, and wait.
You're watching Fox 13, and the 10 o'clock news starts now.
Good evening and welcome tonight. I'm Mark Wilson.
And I'm Allie Corey. Thanks for being with us. Hopefully you have made all your preparations and you are ready for Ian.
Yeah, in the Bay Area, we will feel its effects tomorrow. And tonight, Governor Ron DeSantis reminds everybody this hurricane will cause a tremendous amount of damage.
It's also going to produce a massive amount of rain. It is going to produce major flooding. These hazards are real. We want people to be able to take the appropriate precautions.
But time is running out. We are already getting some of the storm's outer rain bands. We're going to check in with our crews all along the coast tonight. But first, we all want to see what Paul has to say about the very latest track and what we should expect here in the Bay Area. Paul?
Yeah, just watching data come in all night long. And the satellite presentation tonight is incredible. Take a look at the eye, which is now west of the Keys, but also notice all of these feathery high cirrus clouds going this way. Why that's important is that's an indicator of the trough. Upper level winds are blowing from southeast to northwest. That is the trough that is going to pick up Ian and move it northeast. And kind of a side note, incredible sunsets tonight all the way from Tampa Bay all the way up across the Carolinas through those high clouds. Latest update now, Camp 3, top winds of 120. The most critical piece of information on this banner is that northeast at 10. So already that little pivot to a degree that is east of due north, and that increases the likelihood of landfall south of Tampa Bay. And I think even tomorrow morning, very late tonight, tomorrow morning, the weather's going to really deteriorate along the coast of Manatee and Sarasota counties, and that bad weather will kind of spread inland during the day. I want to remind you, you can't focus on these dots and this track. A hurricane is not a point or a line on the map. The weather extends out even beyond the cone. So it's not as though the weather follows the line. The weather's over here and over here. And as the weather goes inland, we'll see kind of a whole big wedge of strong winds and heavy rain moving from southwest, northeast. Side note tonight, multiple tornado warnings, including damage at an airport in Hollywood. A whole bunch of planes were kind of flipped over. These spiral bands do produce tornadoes, and some of these tornado risks will be inland across our area beginning later tonight and lasting probably right through Wednesday. Wind data. Gust 71 in Key West, gust 64 in Marathon, gust 30 West Palm. Hurricane warning, Pinellas, Hillsborough, Polk South. Tropical storm warning to the north. The storm surge now with a landfalling hurricane somewhere down here. The storm surge risk around Tampa Bay has been reduced greatly. It's tough to have a storm surge with a northeast wind. South of the center, it's a south wind. High storm surge probability south of the center. That makes sense. Some of the rainfall numbers, folks, that we're seeing from the models, I don't say this is going to verify. It's probably not. But here are some storm totals: 24.99, 12.87, 21.6, 17.78. Even if it's half of this, it's a lot of rain. So got a lot more to talk about. We'll talk about specific impacts to your area coming up at about 10:20. I'll see you then.
All righty, Paul, thanks a lot. Cars are packed. Homes are boarded up in Sarasota County. Those who live in zones A and B there are under mandatory evacuations tonight. So they spent the day doing what they could, getting what they wanted, clearing out and stocking up. Let's go to Fox 13's Brianna Ardondo, who's joining us now live tonight from the Sarasota County Emergency Operations Center. Been there all day. Hi there, Brianna. So what are they feeling so far here about this?
Yeah, well, Mark, I can tell you that right now this Emergency Operations Center is full with a lot of people from all over the county who are here tracking the storm and making sure that they get the latest information out to folks. They actually just sent out an emergency alert warning people, urging people to leave before 2 o'clock in the morning. Earlier this evening, a couple of locals shared exactly what they're doing to prep for the storm.
The urgency is here to pack up and beat the storm in Sarasota County.
Once I figured out that it was going to come in the Sarasota area, I decided that I'm going to go south and I'm going to go to Fort Lauderdale.
Richard Siskey is filling up his gas tank and leaving his Lakewood Ranch home ahead of Hurricane Ian.
I put everything up off the floor, so there's nothing on the floor. Everything's sitting on tables, etc., just in case there's any flooding. And I just locked it down, and that's it.
Tuesday, Sarasota County officials ordered evacuations for barrier islands and zones A and B near the coast, sending one clear message: leave now.
You've got probably overnight till about 1 or 2 in the morning, but once those winds get to 45 miles per hour sustained, you don't want to go anywhere.
Governor Ron DeSantis warned residents about power outages and what to expect.
If you're in harm's way, you're really taking a risk. Now, there are definitely going to be people in this county and in other counties around here who are not in a Zone A or Zone B situation. Maybe they are on higher ground, they have perfectly safe structures, and they make those decisions that's best for them.
Longtime local Andrew Yoder is staying behind in his Mayaca City home. He's riding out the storm with his wife.
There probably will be flooding around. Our house is actually on stilts, so we're about 8 feet off the ground, so not too worried about flooding either, and just hope no trees blow over. That would be the biggest thing.
Prepping while they can and hoping for the best.
I remember Charlie. I was quite young, and we went down and saw the damage that it did, and it's just like insane what power those storms can have, but at the same time we trust that God's going to protect us and take care of us.
Now, Sarasota emergency officials told us around 8 o'clock tonight that they had about 1,700 people who are taking shelter in those evacuation shelters here within the county. They said that is a low number, though, and that concerns them because it makes them worried that more people are not taking those evacuation orders seriously. And so, again, they are urging tonight for people in those zones A and B to get out while they can still. Go to a friend's house, go to a family member's house, and if you need to, of course, 12 shelters are open here within the county. I can also tell you that they are preparing for up to 15 feet of storm surge here within the county, and of course lots of rain that could bring flooding to other parts. Mark?
Yeah, especially for those who are out there on those barrier islands. To your point, 1,700 might sound like a couple of full shelters, but many more people down there. More people, so hopefully everybody's safe, and they do still have some time to get out, though. Brianna, we'll check back in with you later. Thanks.
Let's get over to Manatee County now, where mandatory evacuations were ordered for everyone in zones A and B. That's where we find our Fox 13's Janae Lewis. She is live from downtown Bradenton with the urgent plea there to residents tonight. Kind of the same message there, Janae.
Yeah, Allie, their message is very simple. You're simply running out of time if you're trying to get out. We've been here in Bradenton most of the day, and I can tell you it's starting to feel and sound differently out here. As you can notice behind the trees behind me, the winds are certainly starting to pick up, and those conditions are only going to get worse out here throughout the night. County leaders, though, telling us tens of thousands of people have already left, and they're glad people are heeding the warning ahead of Hurricane Ian. Driving around today, we saw boarded up businesses, restaurants, and gas stations. Officials say they are closely monitoring conditions for flooding and other impacts from the storm, but because things can change in just an instant, it's important to leave while you can.
Don't wait until it's too late, because we will shut down the roads when the winds are too high to safely navigate through the county.
There will be a certain point when conditions can become dangerous for our officers to be on the roads. And that's one reason why we want people to have a plan and to leave if they're in an evacuation zone.
In Bradenton, police officers drove through evacuation zones today, telling residents to leave before it's too late, because once those winds get past a certain point, and that's likely to happen, they won't be able to respond. So it's important for you to know tonight, if you are in one of those mandatory evacuation zones and you need a place to go, there are a number of shelters open throughout the county. In fact, they added additional ones that opened up noon today. At this point, this mandatory evacuation order is for level A and B. It's recommended for level C, but it's not required at this time. Allie?
All right, Janae Lewis, live for us in Bradenton tonight. Janae, thanks.
So as you know now, Ian's forecast track has changed, especially in the past 12 hours. So has the mood in Hillsborough County. Let's get there. Fox 13's Evan Axel makes live along Bayshore Boulevard with what officials in Tampa are warning about. Evan, I know this has been a big shift, and especially the surge at least, but there is still the threat out there. What else have you found out tonight?
Yeah, and I'm standing right here and where this catastrophe was initially expected to take place, right here in the middle of downtown Tampa. The question wasn't whether this would be underwater. The question was how much water would come out of Tampa Bay. Obviously, everything is much different now. Officials have changed their strategy, though they have not changed their tone. Daniel Barrow is taking control of the one thing he possibly can.
It might not work a lot, but it helps out. I mean, who knows what's going to happen.
The South Tampa resident wants to be relieved over the southern spin on Ian's track, but he's not there yet.
It's endless. I mean, I've been looking at a different perspective. One person say this, one person say that. So we just don't know. We expecting the worst.
City officials are allowing for breathing room. Because storm surge isn't expected to be cataclysmic, TECO will not preemptively shut off power to critical areas of downtown. The city is also holding off on the strictest of measures.
Everything is a possibility, but right now with the trajectory, if we don't have the damage that was predicted before and in place.
The mayor is encouraged by the numbers of people who have left zones A and B, which are under mandatory evacuations. They've given out 100,000 sandbags, ensured nursing homes have working generators, and have 1,000 officers on the street, as opposed to the normal figure of 600. They're urging people to not get complacent despite the track changes.
We're not coming out of this unscathed. There is going to be widespread flooding in our city.
It appears a relatively small percentage of homes and businesses are boarded up. The city says you should already have everything you need to stay safe, whichever track the storm takes.
That's basically we're expecting the worst, hoping, you know, it's okay, but might not be.
And officials do expect the power to go out here in Tampa Bay. TECO says they have 3,500, over 3,000 additional workers here in Tampa and Tampa Bay to make sure the power gets on as soon as possible. Obviously, Mark, that all depends on how much damage we see here in Tampa in terms of trees and power lines and things like that. Also, the police chief of Tampa was very stern. She reminded everybody that anybody who is caught looting businesses, stealing from people, any of those kinds of charges, because we're in a state of emergency right now across the state of Florida, will face increased penalties. So certainly there are any number of reasons we would say not to do that stuff, but there is one more, Mark.
That's a great point. And like our weather team has been telling us, the other problem with this storm is it's going to hang around here tomorrow night and well into Thursday, and even sustained 40, 45-mile-an-hour winds are going to cause problems. There's no doubt about that, especially for power. We'll check back with you in a little bit. Evan, thanks very much. All right, then there's the rain. It seems like we're going right down the checklist of everything this storm offers. With so much rain coming, there's still time to get out if you haven't evacuated yet and you need to.
And in Pinellas County, people are not taking any chances.
Putting some sandbags near kind of like the entry points, just kind of tucked in the corners, and then obviously shutters.
Coming up after the break, the warning from law enforcement.
Connect with Flex, Fox Local Extension. Reach local viewers down to the zip. Across Flex and 150-plus premium partners. We connect the dots, plus serve up unique customer insights to help reach your goal. ConnectWithFlex.com.
My favorite weather term is virga. It's when you see rain in the distance falling from the cloud, but at the surface, the very lower levels of the surface, it actually evaporates. What's really cool is being able to see how the atmosphere changes through the different levels of the atmosphere. And actually, the Fox Weather app will allow you to do that. You can actually see a cross-section of the storm. Cool to see that for yourself on radar.
I'm Heather Sullivan with Sullivan Smart Sense to save money on summer fun. Find free things to do with your family. Use sites like TripAdvisor or 365 Travel, or just Google free things to do in your city, and you'll find a list of fun, free activities for you and your family.